hypothetical question would be, let's say a founder realized that the product market fit does not exist. That after all the exploration he did, right, he realized that the product which he's trying to create, and on which let's say he has made some small investments also, the market still is not ready for accepting that product. In that case, what should be the next logical step for the founders?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is, when you're looking initially, when you talk about, we have this idea, I guess it depends on what level of granularity. If you say, we believe there is something we can do for legal secretaries in the legal services sector, particularly in these countries, that's nicely defined, because you're not just saying, we think there's something we can do with technology somewhere for someone on planet Earth. That's obviously too broad. And you're not also saying, we are specifically going to build, this AI chatbot for legal teams that will do their admin tasks for them, specifically like this with these technologies. Like, it's not like a full-blown solution. If you have something like that, I think you're pretty unlikely to just find that there's nothing you can do there for anyone, even whether it's there or even adjacent. Because what you might do when you talk to when you go talk to lawyers, you might find that the paperwork is a big problem, but they don't mind, because ultimately it's all just compliance stuff, and you actually couldn't solve the problem with technology because it needs to be paper, otherwise they will go to prison, kind of thing. But then what they might tell you is, what they struggle with is, some other problem, which might be like taking notes, or doing discovery, or like synthesizing things in other places. Or maybe you find something adjacent where they say, oh, my clients struggle to find the right lawyers. We get calls from people who call us, but they shouldn't be calling us, because we don't even do that. But everyone thinks a lawyer is a lawyer, but there's family law, there's this law, there's that law. So what you might be able to do instead, and actually have an acquaintance who is trying to do this, you might actually say, okay, what's better is we can solve this group of people who are looking to find the appropriate legal support. So I think if you're open-minded and willing to pivot, you should be fine. The problem then would be if you just jump in and you start building a thing, but you haven't validated that the problem exists. And if you're doing that, you're kind of getting what, in my mind, you're kind of asking for, which is, you should be validating that the problem actually matters. And you can do that really quickly. I think that's what people don't understand. Like, I have relationships with customers. So sometimes people say, oh, we should go do some customer research. We can run some interviews. I'm like, I can also just send a message to these 5 people and I'll hear from them overnight. And then tomorrow we can resolve this conversation. You could do something similar here. You might take a little longer to find people, but you might be able to find 5 people in a week. And after that, you might find that, no, they don't care about your product. I think it sucks. Or yes, they love it. But then you talk to an engineer and then you realize it's actually going to be incredibly difficult to build. And there's 5 people out there that have heaps of money that have already built this, and that people aren't even buying it because it's too expensive. So like, I think you shouldn't have, if that's happened to you, you've gone too far. You've messed up discovery, in my mind.
Okay, so I think the message is loud and clear. Look before you leave. Kind of before you start development, start kind of putting too much money. It's a good idea to find out the market fit and start slow. So you don't have to be very aggressive, but you can definitely start talking to customers. If you already have customers, nothing better than that. If you can just message them, hey, I'm thinking of working on this feature. And if you have good relationship with customers, definitely they will come and kind of help you. It also, I think, brings a side point that always have good relationship with your customers, have people engaged with the customers all the time, because they not only help you kind of generate your revenue, but they also help you build better products, greater products, and by providing continuous feedback. That's interesting. I think at this point, I would like to ask all the viewers here, like, if you have ever had this exercise of finding this product market fit, do mention like how did you go ahead with this? What was the product you were trying to sell or find a market for? And what was the eventual result? Did you find a market for that product, or you realize that probably this product is too early and market does not exist? So on that note, Jehan, it was a great conversation. Thank you for joining, giving your all these very good insights. I think people who are in the early stages in startups, right, they are often worried about, developing something which will not sell. They should take note of the advices that you have given. Probably kind of in whichever stage they are. If they're in very early stage, probably they have even better chances of kind of not making the mistake. If it's a
Yeah.
big enterprise, then they should start talking to customers before developing the product. And all the strategies that you have discussed, I think they will be definitely helpful to them. Any last words, Jehan? And post that, I think we can wrap up this call.
Um, no, I think the main thing is just to set expectations. I think what people have to understand is it's it's just it's a messy process. You go through and you talk to customers, and then you find the problem, but then you talk to people and they don't get it. They don't think that that's a problem because you're in the conversation, but they weren't. So that one thing is just always make sure you bring people to the conversation so they can at least help convince other people, and it's not just your word. Then after that, you might find solutions, and then you think through all the edge cases. You come up with an idea, and then someone has some other ideas, and there's a billion ways you could do it. And I think what I want to come at is, yes, there's a few things when it comes to bringing the right people on board and being really aware of all the stakeholders and people you're working with. Even if you're the boss, you still will have people that you can't, unless you're running a slave factory, which you probably shouldn't be doing. You probably want to have them on side as well. So bringing the right people is really important. But then the last thing is that, yes, ultimately at the very end, it starts off scientific, but it becomes increasingly less scientific until at the very end, it's just kind of a human psychology thing of just people needing to trust it. And
Right.
if you're working in an organization, I'd say definitely do all the things I've described, but also understand that this doesn't mean that you don't leap. You will look before you leap, as you said. I thought it was a really, really good thing to point out. But that doesn't mean you're not leaping. And being able to project confidence, being able to come in and think about the psychological side of, and what people might be looking for to help them make a decision, especially people like investors or leadership, where they don't want to understand every little bit of it. They don't want you to basically dump the discovery on them so they can then see everything. They
Mhm.
want to be able to just trust you. So maybe the last thing would be don't underestimate the messiness of just human psychology and people. That just adds a whole other dimension to this. And if you're doing this and you're struggling and you think that you're just terrible at it and you go, wow, that guy made it sound so easy, why am I so bad at this? You're probably doing a good job. You're probably going to do a good job. It's just hard work. That's all.
Sure. I think that's a very good motivation for people who are working on this problem because, as Jehan mentioned, right, finding a product market fit is not easy problem. It's a massive process. Otherwise, we would have had so many good products, right, all the time. The reason why only certain products make it big and become very successful is because the product market fit is not easy to find, and you will, as he said, there is a psychological element involved here. There is a gut feeling involved here. There is a market realities that even after doing all the exploration, you may miss on those realities. You may they may not be any process is never complete, right? So
Oh, yeah.
after doing all this exploration, also you may have some surprises. But anyway, trying is better. And thank you, Jehan, for joining on this session. It was a great conversation.
Excellent. Thanks so much for having me. It's been good fun.
Sure. All the viewers, please do subscribe. We are having some very good conversations lined up, and hope all of you are having good time watching these podcasts. Please provide your feedback. Please provide your comments more actively. If there are any topics that are in your mind that you would like to be discussed in this podcast, do let me know. I will kind of try to bring experts in that particular area. With that note, all of you, please have a good day. Thank you for watching.